IUPI Speakers Lab, this is Pam. How can I help you?
Hi, my name is Michaela Scott. What are your hours?
Michael, you already know our hours.
Pam, my name is not Michael, it's Michaela. Now what are your hours?
We're open Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and on Fridays and Saturdays, we're open 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Now, have you signed the reports?
No, not yet.
He does this every month. All he has to do is sign the reports. It's really not that hard.
Hey Jim, I can grade more online outlines than you. Hey Pam, time us.
Dwight, you know that we do more than grade outlines. We also have live Zoom recordings.
Consider it a challenge.
You're on, Dwight.
Hi, my name's Angela. I'm your mentor today. What can I help you with?
What do you guys do here? How can you help me out?
We can help students through all stages of preparing for their speeches. We can help you brainstorm for your topic of your speech. We can help you with your outline. If you already have it started, we can help you finish it. If you can't think of anything, we can help you there. We can also, if you come in with a full outline, we can look over it and just give you some feedback.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. Michael, please stop. I'm with a student.
Michael's not here.
I'm sorry, he's usually not here when I'm with a student. Anyways, if you come in with like a full speech ready, you can give us your speech and we can give you feedback on that as well.
Okay, sounds good. So I was a little nervous coming to the speakers lab for the first time, but when I got here, it wasn't that bad, except for the weird boss. And they were here, the mentors were here to help me no matter what I needed, and overall, it was a really great experience.
But it didn't go through, like, turn it in, so I'm not sure if we still want to print it off and use it. We're always getting them from instructors, and he's using that.
I just don't want to have to go through them. If they can turn them and return it, then that's
None of them are in debt. Is that 0 to 6?
I mean,
they have 6 citations, so that's a point. They have enough. Are they?
well, there's the
Are
word.
they alphabetical?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another point. They're not hanging in debt, so I'd lose a point there.
So it's only 3.2.
Are they? Well, are they properly cited? Like, are they not? Are they just URLs, or do they actually take some time and, you know,
Here.
put some effort into them? And we've got plenty of books, so if we want to look at the outline or the criteria, we have
Did
that.
we write on it?
Yeah, you write directly on it.
Shall we put? Candy, did you get a number card that
I'll
was?
have
Okay.
flash drive.
1, 2,
Let's
3,
put the order of speakers.
7.
Number 1 is missing.
Okay, there's 8 in here.
One of our fellow students, someone we walked by in the hallways, who feels the same stresses of college, was stabbed not only once, but twice. And what's worse, her attacker got away.
Your lungs, your joints, your eyes, your memories, your body, they will all fail you, and you will cease to exist.
Was an act of the government to impose on who could reproduce and what genes could become part of the ultimate human race. And I, as a humanist, view that as unethical. No matter what college or university you attend, campus crime is imminent. However, you don't need to be afraid of what's around the corner.
This is very cool.
Well, this is better than like American Idol where they have to walk in a long hallway, you know.
But yeah.
See a commercial break.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey.
Always fun. We really do appreciate your help with everything tonight. Thank you for your service.
I am so proud.
Okay,
My baby.
you're speaker number 3.
Okay.
So leave that inside, and there'll be a thing on there asking you what number you are.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, wait a minute, I'm having to pull up my word.
do if she is ready. Let's welcome Charisma to the stage. Hi, my name's Charisma. And you're watching Disney Channel.
I've done extensive research on this topic as well as being adopted internationally, where I have experienced these similar feelings that foster teens face when trying to juggle the struggles of college without someone there to simply say, everything will be okay. Today I'm going to
The
explain
Commonwealth
the issue.
Fund did a study comparing our country and healthcare spending to the rest of the world.
Healthcare is run as a business, and money talks. You do have power as both a patient and consumer, and your voice will be heard.
And our winner tonight, voted by you, the audience, the students that have taken our 110, that have judged, Monroe's motivated sequence, is Charisma. As a matter of fact, was up here on stage and won an award for 40 years in teaching R110 here at our university. And that's quite an honor and quite a tribute to her. Our second speaker tonight, finalist was Brady Smith.
Speech Night was a great opportunity for me. It was so much fun.
Speech Night was kind of unique because I went in thinking that I was going to be able to do really good, and I didn't.
I didn't expect to be chosen for Speech Night, not because I didn't believe in myself, but because I felt there were a lot of other good competitors in my class, and so it was really shocking that I was chosen, but it was really cool.
I definitely did not prepare enough, and I didn't work as hard as I should have, and that was definitely a learning experience to know kind of what I wasn't good at. But out of everything, Speech Night taught me the most how to communicate with people, because I never had to think before about how to break down what was in my brain and get it into someone else's brain so that they understood it how I did. And just thinking about the thought process behind that and how when you say things in different ways, it means things, and it means different things to different people.
Again, does that make the gears turn in your head?
To be able to stand up there and deliver something that I felt pertinent to my peers, and to be able to do that for 7 minutes just to get my point across was a fantastic experience, because at the time I had never stood in front of 1,000 people and delivered what I felt like was a public service announcement. For me, words have weight, and the way that you say those words are just as important as the words that you say. And so R110 was a great opportunity for me to discover how to say those words in front of other people.
Especially in the millennial generation that we text, we send Snapchats, and there's just this disconnect between that real genuine face-to-face connection. I mean, that's where you see emotions, and even when we're texting, like, it's so often that you say something and you didn't mean it that way, and so there's this whole disconjunction of meaning and words. And so I feel that when you're actually communicating with someone face-to-face, not only is the engagement enjoyable and that social interaction, I mean, that's necessary for us as humans to survive. We need that connection with an individual, but also I think it's so important later in life, in a job. I mean, you're not going to be sending Snapchats and text messages to your boss and to your coworkers. You're going to have to actually talk to them and relay information back and forth, and if you don't know how to do that, you're not really going to go far in life, because I mean, life is communication, and everything is communication, whether it's unsaid or said.
The people that I met there and outside, just in Indianapolis, in like the real world, talk to me about how to get programs started up and how to actually engage other people outside of IUPUI with the cause that I talked about. So that's an invaluable experience to be able to take action on what you talk about.
To really say what you want to say. I think this is really, honestly, especially for our generation, a huge opportunity because there's so many controversial topics and just ideas in our own brain that we want to purge. And so really use this opportunity to say what's on your heart, because you'll be amazed at the interaction and the engagement that other people will give you.
My teacher was Moffat Craig. She's the most fantastic human being in the world. She's my favorite teacher I've had at IUPUI. She challenged us to be the best speakers that we could be. I looked at her and I said, "Mrs. Craig, I don't know if I can win." And she said, "I believe in you." And that's all it took for me to win speech night, was her saying that she believed in me, because those words had weight. So as you go throughout the rest of your life, realize that the things that you say have weight. And speech night is a great opportunity to begin to discover how you can effectively convey those words to your peers.
Hi everyone, I just want to welcome everyone to this year's 95th Speech Night. Can we all get a round of applause for the 95th Speech Night? Yes. My name is Charisma McMurray and I will be your MC tonight. I was last year's Speech Night winner and I am a sophomore at IUPUI's Kelley School of Business, double majoring in Human Resource Management and Business Management with a minor in Psychology. So now I'd like to welcome with me up to the stage, Dr. Christine Kartnick.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Are we all excited? I'm excited. This will be good. So I just want to briefly take this opportunity to welcome all of you, scholars, friends, parents, colleagues, and guests, to the 95th biannual Speech Night competition. And by the way, mark your calendars now, because in just a couple of years, spring of 2021, I'm sure you'll all want to return for the gala celebration that will accompany the 100th Speech Night. This promises to be a stimulating and exciting evening full of great oratory, as we'll all hear. I am so glad to see so many of you here and out there in our remote sites. Author and aviator Anne Morrow Lindbergh once wrote, "Good communication is as stimulating as black coffee and just as hard to sleep after." And I'm sure you'll all be very glad at the end of this competition that you spent this cold Monday evening here with us. And I expect that maybe the ideas you hear presented on this stage will make it just a little bit harder to sleep tonight. So a little bit about Speech Night. Hosted by the Department of Communication Studies, this is the longest continually running event on the IUPUI campus. It's 48 years. It began in 1970. You're about to hear 7 of the best speeches created this fall. That was a big statement. You get to participate in the judging. Well, all right. And a great deal rides on the decisions that you will make as you listen to these speakers. The winner of tonight's competition takes home not only a beautiful trophy, which is over there, bragging rights, a nice resume line, but also a cash prize of $1,500. So listen carefully and choose wisely. Before we get started, I want to take a minute to thank the people who have made this night possible. First, your instructors. Would R110 instructors please stand? Can we have a round of applause for your wonderful wonderful, hardworking, and inspiring instructors, thank you. Your efforts are truly, truly appreciated. Next, thank you to the R110 leadership team who keep this course running smoothly each year by coordinating roughly 140 sections and 4,000 students, and who have made this evening possible. Course Director Steve Overby and Assistant Course Director Ian Sheeler. So thank you to them as well. And finally, I want to thank and commend you, scholars, R110 students, for making a valuable investment in your future by completing this course. Engaging in smart, clear, informed oral communication is a gift that you will use throughout your lives. The skills you've acquired will help you professionally, regardless of your major. However, for those of you who have not yet committed to a major, I have just 2 words for you: communication studies. A communication studies degree can provide you with knowledge and a set of skills that are critical to organizations and transferable between organizations and even careers. Don't believe me? Look at sought-after majors and skills listed in Indeed and Career Builder. I guarantee you'll be surprised at how often you'll see communication studies. On the other hand, if you've already chosen a major that's not Comm Studies, I urge you to consider one of our minors. We offer six, including organizational and corporate communication, media arts and production, health communication, persuasion, and even theater. So, don't pack away what you've learned this semester in the never-to-be-looked-at-again box stored in your parents' basement. Keep the material close by. Remember what a good introduction looks like, what it should accomplish. Remember how an oral argument should be structured, how to transition between points, and how to summarize for the listener so that they know what to take away from your words. You've been provided a great framework through which to communicate your ideas when you leave here and leave the university. Use it. You'll be glad you did. And with that said, I'll now turn the stage over to our interim Dean of the School of Liberal Arts, Robert Rabine, who would like to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you all. Welcome to Speech Night, one of the most powerful and important events we host at the IU School of Liberal Arts at IUPUI. So why is Speech Night so special and important? Well, there are a lot of reasons. First of all, it's a showcase for all of the wonderful work being done by faculty and students. Second, it's fun. And in my book, fun is almost always a good reason to participate in and celebrate something. Finally, though, and this is my main point, it's a chance for all of us to witness superpowers in action. Superpowers, you say, isn't that what superheroes have? You know, Superman and his ability to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Spider-Man and his web shooters and precognitive spidey sense. Wonder Woman with her superhuman strength and agility, not to mention her superhuman empathy bestowed on her by the Greek goddess Artemis. Or her omnilingualism, that is to say, her ability to speak to every person in their own language. Yes, these are all superpowers, and yes, they are very, very cool. In fact, as an aside, wouldn't you agree that Wonder Woman is the best of all the superheroes? Isn't that obvious? She's yeah, give it up for Wonder Woman. Superhuman power, agility, super empathy, and omnilingualism. But here's my point. The study of the liberal arts also trains people in superpowers. Maybe these powers are a bit more prosaic than the ability to make yourself invisible or to stick to the side of a building, to say nothing of telepathy, mind control, precognition, or immortality. But they exist all the same. And the pursuit and acquisition of one or more of these liberal arts superpowers is perhaps the most important thing you can do during your time here as a student, regardless of your major and regardless of what you want to do as a career. So what are some of these liberal arts superpowers? Well, we're going to witness one tonight in spades, and that is the ability to communicate effectively, both verbally and written. The ability to think deeply and critically about a variety of subjects from a variety of different points of view. The ability to work as part of a team and yet simultaneously to show leadership as well. Beyond this, applied problem solving, ethical reasoning and decision making. I think we could use a little more of that these days. Innovation and creativity, engaging diversity, active citizenship and community engagement, digital literacy. Each of these is a superpower. And part of what I want to tell you tonight is that if you're not actively working to acquire or refine at least one or two of these powers, then you're not only missing out on an important opportunity, you may in fact be putting your future in jeopardy. We see it in the news every day that the age we live in is one of increasing automation, increasing competition for jobs. And in many cases, the competition is not another human being. The competition is a computer. If you're an accounting major, and I don't want to pick on accounting majors, although my daughter's boyfriend is an accounting major, so maybe I will pick on him. If you're an accounting major, get ready, because computers are coming for your job. If you're in a radiology major, guess what? They're coming. But in so many fields, the future is uncertain. The jobs that exist today may not even exist in 5 or 10 years. The entire profession may be the domain of R2-D2 and 3CPO. That's another superpower, the ability to make references to Star Wars. But here's another important truth, and we're going to witness this tonight in amazing ways. Simply put, there are some things that a computer can't do better than a well-educated human being and never will. And that includes researching, writing, practicing, and performing a satisfying and persuasive speech. So again, let me welcome you to Speech Night, and let me congratulate tonight's speakers and all of the rest of you in the audience who've excelled in R110. You are truly superheroes wielding superpowers. More than that, you're living proof that the study of the liberal arts as a major, a second major, or a minor matters more today than it ever has. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So, like you said, technology is really powerful. So while we see if us humans can outsmart technology, I just want to remind you guys about the program that you have in your hands right now. So out of all you guys here tonight, you can be honest, even though your teachers are in this room, how many of you guys are here because you have to be here by raise of hands? Awesome. So that's really great. I mean, for our wonderful speakers up here, it's really great because one, they have an audience, and two, not only do you get to be here and get attendance points, but you also get to help judge our wonderful speakers here tonight. So you actually have a really important role here tonight. So up here is a slip that you should have in your programs. Now this will be accounting for your attendance for your professors, so you should really hold on to it, but it's also important because this is how you will be grading our contestants. So you see that there are columns up here. So each contestant can get a ranking out of 10 for each step that they accomplish throughout their speech. So 10 is obviously the highest, 1 is the lowest. But overall, we want you to rank the speakers, my bad. We want you to rate the speakers from 1 to 7. 1 being the highest, 7 being the lowest. 1 being the highest, and 7 being the lowest. 1 is the best, 7 is not as the best. Because keeping that in mind, because we want to make sure that we are rewarding our speakers, accommodating them for the hard work that they've done. So keeping that in mind. Also, at the bottom of your pamphlet, you'll see that we have a SurveyMonkey link. Please do not try to do that ahead of time because that is actually the incorrect link because technology has outsmarted us once again. And so later on, after our wonderful speakers are done, we will put the correct link up there for you to do an online survey link. Once you do this, it's really crucial for you to, again, 1 is the best, 7 is not as the best for our speakers, so we can get them rated accordingly. Also, when you do that SurveyMonkey link, there will be 2 additional questions on there that will be about the Speakers Lab if you visited it and rating their performance and so on and so forth so they can improve. So we also want you to fill out those 2 additional questions as well as ranking our speakers. So, is technology back with us or is it not? Okay, can you give me my paper? I left my paper there because I am a dumb human. So, also make sure when you're judging, you're doing it really consistently and doing it really fairly. I just want to reiterate that to everyone too. Just to be fair and consistent across the board with our contestants. So, speaking of our contestants, our first speaker this evening is Sylvia Yoon. She is a freshman biology major and she plans to go to medical school after graduation. Her instructor is Dr. Mark McCleary, and her title of her speech is The Antibiotic Crisis. Let us welcome Sylvia to the stage.
Beef, pork, chicken, and in the recent holiday spirit, turkey. Now, when I said these words, a plethora of dishes probably came to mind, and in the process, kicked a great deal of salivary glands in the room into overdrive. With only 5% of Americans identifying as vegetarian or vegan, according to the Gallup, an American research-based company that conducts public opinion polls, the rest of us meat eaters are in the majority. This data correlates to a classroom survey of my own design in which I discovered that approximately 93% of students regarded meat as a component of their daily diet. With this source of food being such an important staple for individuals not just in our classrooms, but all across the country, I think I speak for everyone here when I say we expect nothing less but the highest level of quality and safety and regulation from our United States Department of Agriculture. But in hearing the truth, we would be alarmed. In an effort to increase production, promote growth, and help animals survive crowded, unsanitary conditions, farmers are over-injecting the animals we eat with antibiotics that are aiding in the strengthening and growing resistance of bacteria, and it's having negative consequences on our health. As a student who has conducted extensive research on this topic, in addition to studying antibiotic-resistant bacteria, I believe I have enough knowledge to impart this important information to all of you here today. In today's speech, I will be advocating for reduction in antibiotic usage here in the United States to combat the growing threat of antibiotic resistance. I will be doing this by explaining the issue at large, helping you visualize a world without this crisis, and promoting necessary courses of action. According to the Center for Disease Control, our nation's health protection agency, antibiotic resistance occurs when germs like bacteria develop the ability to grow and defeat the drugs designed to kill them. This means they are not killed and continue to grow. The main culprit of this increasingly deadly problem lies in the overuse of antibiotics. As more and more antibiotics are used, the weaker sensitive bacteria become, allowing for stronger bacteria to grow and multiply in its place. With the consumption or mishandling of raw contaminated meat products, these resistant forms of bacteria enter our bodies where they stay and successfully fight off the antibiotics we are prescribed. This can lead to short-term complications such as an increase in duration and severity of common infections such as pneumonia, tuberculosis, and foodborne illnesses, according to the World Health Organization, in addition to short-term complications such as long-term, a higher mortality and a rise in medical costs. With 70% of the United States' supply of antibiotics going directly to our livestock, you can begin to imagine the magnitude of the issue that is being perpetuated here in our backyard. This degree of antibiotic distribution is posing an incredibly dire threat to anyone who may come in contact with or consume contaminated meat products. In just 2013 alone, the CDC reported that over 2 million people were impacted by antibiotic-resistant infections, with 23,000 of those resulting in death. Now that you understand the gravity of the situation, I am standing before you today to advocate for reduction in antibiotic usage in our livestock. This would mean following in the footsteps of many European nations and cutting our use of antibiotics by a set amount in the following years. However, this task will not be simple. With the Princeton Environmental Institute estimating that the projected consumption of antimicrobials is set to increase between 2/3 between now and 2030, the task seems almost impossible. But that is why we must be vigilant now more than ever in attacking this rapidly escalating issue before it reaches a point of no return. To do this, we need to look no further than the USDA, who claim that they are uniquely positioned to contribute scientific knowledge about antimicrobial resistance due to their dual role in the protection of animal agriculture and human health. With that bold statement, the USDA should not only be responsible for playing a more active role, but for spearheading this crisis. Now, opponents may argue that the use of antibiotics is necessary in keeping our animals healthy, and to a certain degree, they are correct. With 2/3 of infectious diseases originating in animals, it is imperative that we have mechanisms in place to keep the meat we eat disease-free. However, as stated by the CDC, much of the antibiotics used in animals is inappropriate and unnecessary and makes everyone less safe. The use of antibiotics in excess is not keeping our animals healthy. In fact, it is contributing to the problem by creating more resistant forms of bacteria that start in animals and follow into people. If we're going to effectively contain these resistant forms of bacteria, we are going to have to limit our use of antibiotics, and it's going to have to happen now. In 2012, the French government took the first steps towards combating this issue by initiating the Eco-Anti-Bio Initiative to cut antibiotic usage by 1/4 by 2017, a course of action I am asking our USDA to enact today. With this change, the World Health Organization detected a lower level of antimicrobial resistance in livestock. I believe that the USDA can achieve similar results, if not better, with a strong directive push from the people. These results are not out of reach. They can be a reality, our reality, a reality in which antibiotics have the ability to fight off infectious diseases again. A reality in which people can consume meat products without having to weigh the consequences of getting sick. Through the cooperation of the CDC and the USDA, we can reverse this climbing trend of antimicrobial resistance before it reaches a point, before this reality becomes a figment of our imagination. And our world, as Dr. Margaret Tran, Director General of the World Health Organization, states, heads towards a post-antibiotic era in which common infections will once again kill. Today, I am standing before you to ask that you write to the USDA headquarters in Washington, D.C., and make your voices heard. These officials need to know that we expect our health to be prioritized through the substantial reduction in antibiotic usage. In addition to this main course of action, I'm also asking that you buy meat products with no added antibiotics on its labels and take to social media to inform those closest to you, like your friends, your family, and your relatives, about this important issue. The time for a reduction in antibiotic usage is today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but today. I hope that in explaining this issue, helping you visualize a world without this crisis, and promoting necessary courses of action, I have opened your eyes to this looming threat. I am ready to take up antibiotic resistance. I am ready to take back our world from antibiotic resistance. Only one question remains. Are you?
Thank you, Sylvia. Our next speaker this evening is Kelsey Thompson. She is a freshman majoring in tourism conventions and event management, and she was under the instruction of Moffett Craig this semester. The title of her speech is The Fast Track to Child Parenting. Let us all welcome Kelsey to the stage.
For many of us in 4th grade, all we were really worried about was the carefree world of being a 9-year-old. In 8th grade, all we worried about was going to high school and what the next 4 years of our lives looked like. And in 12th grade, all we really wanted to do was get into college, enjoy our senior year, and just be crazy, fun, wild teenagers. Or at least this is what was supposed to happen. Well, when I was in 4th grade, my mom lost her best friend and became best friends with oxycodone, which meant I had to start taking care of the house. When I was in 8th grade, my mom ditched oxycodone for hydrocodone, which meant instead of her waking me up for school, I had to wake her up for work. And in 12th grade, my mom decided that all 3 of them should be best friends, which meant I couldn't go to my dream school and I had to choose IUPUI to be able to support my family. I was the adult, I was the parent, and I'm not the only child parent. I would love to tell you all that what I experienced is an unfortunate upbringing, but it's exactly the opposite. Over the past several weeks, I've been expanding my knowledge on this opioid epidemic, and I truly hope you listen to what I have to say. At the end of tonight's proceedings, I ask that you all take a few information sheets to pass around our community and to sign my petition to create a mandatory 1-month, 1-credit-hour-long class here at IUPUI because the opioid crisis is a problem, but there are solutions and benefits to those solutions. According to Mayo Clinic, in an article written of March of this year, it describes opioids as pain-relieving drugs that work by interacting with opioid receptors in your cells. They leave you feeling sleepy and pain-free, but it is that feeling that becomes extremely addictive, thus leading to people taking lethal doses of their pain pills to get the most heightened sense of that feeling. According to medicinesafe.org, this is killing 115 people on a daily basis. Not only is it physically taking away from the lives of people on a daily basis, but it's also mentally and emotionally taking away from the lives of children. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, 270,000 children are placed into foster care every year. Of that, 12,756 of those were in Indiana alone. And from a personal interview that I had with my own professor, Mrs. Craig, she informed me that her and her husband are the legal guardians of their grandson because their adopted daughter chose a life of drugs over her own son. She also informed me when they got him at just the age of 11 years old, if he wasn't taking care of himself, he was taking care of his mother, which no 11-year-old should ever be in charge of doing. The problem is also that doctors are so quick to prescribe opioids, fully aware of a potential damage on a patient's life. In a case study that I found written in STAT during 2016, the peak of the opioid crisis, it tells the story of a man who went to the ER with some kidney pain. But I ask you all to remember that the first thing he told doctors is that he is a recovering opioid addict. Yet by the end of his visit, they had injected him 5 separate times with 29 milligrams of morphine, and they were sending him home with a prescription for 25 milligram pills of oxycodone. That's a prescription that many of us in this room would never finish, but he had to refill 3 separate times in 1 week because the doctor was too careless to not prescribe him an opioid. And lastly, the problem is that people are so uneducated about the potential threats on not only themselves, but everybody else around them. So clearly we have a problem here, but we can stand together to prove better solutions. An easy one is doctors stop prescribing opioids the second they hear someone is in pain. Yes, it might relieve pain for a little while, but again, it's that feeling that becomes extremely addictive and beyond dangerous, and when people are left unsupervised is when they become addicted. Indiana has started to take action on this issue. According to Indiana's government website on Indiana's Next Level Recovery, it outlines 3 things that Indiana is trying to put into place. Under the final rule 102516, it states that doctors may prescribe drug monitoring tests at any point in time. Doctors may not prescribe an opioid without sitting down with the patient first and fully discussing the threats. And doctors may not prescribe an opioid without regularly scheduled visits. This may take time to put into place, so I'm suggesting a policy change to take place right here on our own IUPUI campus. Currently, as an incoming freshman, we must take the My Student Body course containing 3 sections. After a small questionnaire that I gave my speech class on November 7th, I found out that nobody read or watched the course in its entirety, and they guessed on almost all the questions. My proposal to you all is that we create a mandatory 1-month, 1 credit hour long class for all incoming freshmen that fits directly into the required electives to graduate. The outline is very simple. It focuses on the 3 things that the online course still focuses on: substance abuse, alcohol abuse, and sexual assault. The first class is an overview of statistics and just kind of what the class is going to be like, but then the second, the third, and the fourth class are all guest speakers coming in to discuss their own experiences with overcoming all 3 challenges. These are challenges that they never thought they would have been in 3 months, 2 years, 6 months ago. I've also spoken with a representative from Wheeler Mission that said that they can provide guest speakers to come in for this class if we were to need them to. I propose solutions to you all, but how do they really benefit everyone in this room? An obvious one: children get their childhood back. A 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up through 18-year-old should never have to give up on their childhood because a doctor was too careless to not prescribe their loved one an opioid. According to heroin.net, opioid users are 40 times more likely to turn to heroin. If we can control this epidemic, we will be getting rid of a huge majority of those that are addicted to heroin, which will eventually lead to less adults and parents that are addicted to drugs. This means less children that are placed into foster care. This means less children feeling unloved and unwanted. This means more children have a childhood. And we have the chance to educate. Isn't that why we're all here? As a class that fits directly into their tuition that they're already paying for, as future generations grow, we will eliminate this epidemic. And I ask you all to remember that 115 deaths per day. That will calculate to 41,975 less deaths per year just because of an opioid addiction. I repeat to you all, 41,975 less deaths per year just because of an opioid addiction. In conclusion, clearly we have a problem, but there are solutions, and the solutions will benefit you, your children, your grandchildren, and even their children. I'm not naive to know that this isn't going to happen overnight, and it's going to take time, but we have to stand together to prove that we can stop this epidemic, because we can stop it. I ask that at the end of tonight's proceedings, you take some flyers from my classmates and friends around this room, and you sign my petition to create this mandatory 1-month, 1 credit hour long class here at IUPUI, because we have the obligation to educate. Do not let that little 4th grader be the one that has to take care of the house. Do not let that 8th grader be the one that has to make sure her mom wakes up on time or at all. And do not let that senior deter from their dream school because they have to take a job to support their family. Be a part of something bigger. Be a part of a positive change for our community.
Thank you, Kelsey, for your speech. Our third speaker this evening is Anna Cucciato. She is a freshman majoring in communication studies. Her instructor is Ian Schiller, and the title of her speech is Surviving College Literally. Let us welcome Anna to the stage.
This homework assignment makes me want to kill myself. Why am I even here? These are just common sayings, right? As college students, we are all familiar with the seemingly impossible homework assignments and all-nighters. As a result, we are also familiar with these sayings, but we fail to think about the weight behind these words. After researching the suicide rate among college students, I can assure you that these are more than casual complaints. The escalating suicide rate among college students is a crisis that has been brought on by the increase of clinical anxiety and depression that can be solved through adjusting the college admissions process and using reappraisal. College students are often referred to as birds leaving the nest. We are pushed out of the world we have known for 18 or more years to see if we can fly on our own. Most times, we soar to reach our highest potential, but sometimes our wings fail us. According to Crisis on Campus, the untold story of student suicides, 6% of undergraduate and 4% of grad school students have seriously considered suicide in the past year, seemingly small percentages. However, there are approximately 18 million undergraduate and 3 million grad school students in the United States. So these percentages are equivalent to about 1,080,000 and 120,000 students respectively. These are just the numbers of students who simply think about committing suicide in a year. According to statistics, 7.5 out of 100,000 college students commit suicide each year. This means that roughly 1,100 friends and family members will be lost to suicide within the next 365 days. Two factors that lead to suicide are depression and anxiety, mental illnesses on the rise among college students. According to the Anxiety and Depression Society of America, 41.6% of students surveyed reported that anxiety is the top concern among college students. It is clear that clinical anxiety is becoming commonplace in the college student population. According to Boston University Today, between the years of 2008 and 2015 alone, the number of students who reported feeling that anxiety negatively impacted their academic performance rose by 18.2%. If this data shows us anything, it is that clinical anxiety, a leading cause of suicide, is on the rise, claiming more college students each year. Anxiety is not the only mental illness college students are dealing with. Depression rates among the population are skyrocketing as well. According to the aforementioned publication Boston University Today, between that same time span of just 7 years, the depression rates among students increased 11.2%. This is significant because depression and suicide are inextricably linked, with over 60% of those who commit suicide suffering from depression. Now that you have seen the crisis that the suicide rate among college students is, you need to know how we can solve it. To significantly reduce the number of students who take their own lives each year, we must change the way colleges view standardized tests and work to erase the stigma surrounding obtaining help for mental illnesses. Grooming for success begins in high school, but sometimes it seems students are groomed until we have no hair left. There exists a mentality that in order to be successful, one must attend a top-notch college or university. But many of these institutions have admission requirements that are unrealistic for the average student. In order to graduate high school, one must take either the ACT or the SAT. According to Prep Scholar, the average SAT and ACT scores in 2017 were 1060 and 20.9 respectively. However, many institutions would only consider test scores higher than these. Prep Scholar reports, with an SAT score of 1060, 30% of schools are out of grasp. Even more striking, only roughly 18% of institutions were even willing to consider a student with the national average of 20 on the ACT. This is unacceptable and causes much unnecessary anxiety among students. If colleges and universities began to implement a more holistic admissions process, the stressors caused by the college admissions mania would be alleviated. To further reduce the destruction caused by depression and anxiety, we must work to erase the stigma surrounding these mental illnesses. In her TED Talk, Breaking the Stigma and Shame of Mental Illness, Kitty Weston says, imagine taking your child to the emergency room with a broken leg, and the doctor saying to you, he has to fix it himself. He fell off of his bike, it's his fault. Although this is somewhat extreme, this is the stigma surrounding mental illnesses, that those who suffer from them can simply snap out of it or man up. As a result, victims of depression and anxiety, factors that could ultimately lead to suicide, refuse to seek the help they need. Fortunately, ending this stigma is not a hopeless case. To prevent the loss of more college students to suicide, college campuses can employ the principle of reappraisal. According to social psychology, the science of everyday life, reappraisal is the act of interpreting setbacks or difficulties as normal challenges faced by all students that fosters a sense of belonging. People who suffer from mental illnesses often feel isolated, but with reappraisal, this sense could be diminished, greatly reducing anxiety, depression, and suicide rates among college students. These solutions are our best options if we want to save our friends, family members, and maybe even ourselves. Instead of studying for the SAT or ACT and perhaps not being able to maintain that intellectual level when one enters college, students will get into schools based on who they are as uniquely capable individuals. This in turn will lead to less depression and anxiety among students and will hopefully save some of those 1,100 young people who take their own lives each year. Not only is fixing the admissions process beneficial, but so is reappraisal. The self-fulfilling prophecy loosely states that if one believes they are performing poorly, they will continue to do so. Right now, this concept is one that hinders students. Because there is no sense of normalcy surrounding any amount of failure, this vicious cycle is easily completed. However, with reappraisal, students will begin to recognize that some amount of failure is okay and even expected, and they will be less likely to internalize those self-deprecating thoughts that can lead to depression and suicide. Recently, I was talking with my best friend, and she said to me, "You know, it can be really difficult to function when on a daily basis, you wonder if people's lives wouldn't be better off without you." Let's take one step closer to erasing this thought from beautiful minds. First, you've all seen this screen up behind me several times, and now I invite you all to please take out your phones and take a picture of this. IUPUI, our own school, offers counseling and psychological services. They offer 6 free sessions and then $10 individual counseling sessions. The local and national suicide hotlines are also on this page. If you or someone you know needs help, please seek that help and know that doing so comes without judgment. Finally, I want you all to take a minute, close your eyes, and remind yourselves that you are worthy, capable individuals. You are loved, and you belong here. This change starts with you. Today, we have discussed why the suicide rate among college students is such a pressing issue, how to best alleviate it, and the steps we as individuals can take to do so. Together, we can make sure that no college student ever says, "This homework assignment makes me want to kill myself," or asks, "Why am I even here?" and means it ever again. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Our fourth speaker this evening is Aisha Amjad. She is a freshman majoring in biology and neuroscience. After graduation, she wants to attend dental school. Her instructor this semester is Dr. Mark McCleary. The title of her speech is Plunging Out of Predictive Algorithms in the Courtroom. Let us welcome Aisha to the stage.
According to the New York Times, Eric Loomis was charged with 5 criminal accounts for his role in a drive-by shooting. After Mr. Loomis pleaded guilty to 2 of the less severe charges, the judge denied him probation and sentenced him to 11 years in prison, claiming he had a high tendency to reoffend as determined by his risk assessment algorithm score. This algorithm was basically a computer program that, based on Mr. Loomis's responses and factors including, but not limited to, his age, sex, race, employment status, spit out a risk assessment score that ultimately determined his sentence. Mr. Loomis challenged the use of this algorithm as a violation of his due process rights to be sentenced individually. However, this challenge was rejected by not only the Wisconsin State Supreme Court, but our United States Supreme Court. Courtrooms across the U.S. are increasingly relying on predictive algorithms to make sentencing decisions. However, this malicious technology has the power to destroy lives. We cannot count on a big metal box to make fair and accurate sentencing decisions about ourselves, our family members, our friends. After I conducted my classroom research, I learned that none of my peers were aware of this occurrence. This as well as researching accounts of individuals being unfairly sentenced by algorithms, fueled my interest and desire to educate all of you today on the fundamental issues with relying on predictive algorithms in the courtroom. Courtroom algorithms are plagued with bias, and they decrease the human role in the courtroom, and they ultimately contribute towards unjust sentencing. Instead, we need to be paying attention towards advancing humanized justice in the courtroom and repealing any bills that call for the use of predictive algorithms as alternatives to fair sentencing. These arguments do not call for softness on crime, rather they serve to obtain justice in our justice system. Courtroom algorithms claim to be neutral. However, studies have revealed major instances of racial bias and stereotyping. Compass is currently the most widely used courtroom algorithm in courtrooms across the US, and it serves to predict recidivism scores. Recidivism is basically the tendency of a criminal to reoffend after his or her sentence is complete. Compass is not clear, however, as to which factors go into predicting these recidivism scores. A 2016 ProPublica investigation found that Compass's formula is particularly likely to label Black defendants as future criminals, labeling them almost 2 times more often than white defendants. These Black defendants were in turn more likely to receive longer sentences than white defendants for the same crime. Also, the Electronic Privacy Information Center found that Compass was more likely to label a child molester as low risk simply because he had a job, while the formula was more likely to label someone convicted of public intoxication as high risk solely because of the fact that he or she was homeless. Another obvious flaw with relying on predictive algorithms in the courtroom is their inability to individualize. A computer program cannot look a defendant in the eye and account for a troubled childhood, a traumatic experience, or a disability and recommend a rehabilitative sentence. This robs the judge of the discretion to deliver humanized justice. As well as this, the numerical approach to algorithmic sentencing is far too different from the intuitive thinking required by the judge and jury when evaluating evidence. Now that we have discussed what the problem is, we can begin contemplating possible solutions. It's clear, though, we cannot rely on predictive algorithms to deliver fair sentences. Many individuals argue, however, that the individuals making up the courtrooms are often more biased than, say, an algorithm, and this is correct in hundreds of courtrooms across the US. However, to combat this, we need to be working on diversifying our courtrooms and decreasing the prevalence of majority white courtrooms, not trying to fix an already broken algorithmic system. Racial minorities are grossly underrepresented in our courtrooms and are, quote, generally not representative of the communities in which they are impaneled. The Journal of Crime and Statistics writes that a more racially diverse courtroom is able to deliberate better and ensure more fair trials. Even if algorithms were to be used in the courtroom, they would have to be more transparent in how they operate. Defendants are currently unable to argue with their high risk assessment scores because they simply do not know what resulted in them having a high score. If these technologies were evaluated by independent auditors, then intentional and unintentional software and discriminatory factors could be removed. Such factors could revolutionize our justice system. A world with fair sentencing would not only lead to more humanized justice, but people would not have to fear for being unfairly sentenced by a computer program that is only correct 60% of the time, slightly more than a coin toss. According to a 2018 report from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 1 in 25 defendants is wrongfully convicted. By implementing a more diverse and equitable courtroom, this number can be greatly decreased. This will in turn restore trust in our justice system, and innocent individuals will not fear for coming forward. I must stress as well that this will also hold the guilty accountable for their actions. Instances like the child molester receiving a low risk assessment score would no longer occur. A fair courtroom in general is able to hold more checks and balances on its individual aspects as well, such as holding a prejudiced prosecutor or prejudiced judge accountable for his or her decisions. We can put an end to the use of biased algorithms in our courtrooms. Text resist to 50409 and quickly and easily urge your senators and representatives to vote no on the Sentencing Reform and Corrections Act, a bill mandating the use of predictive algorithms in federal courtrooms across the U.S. Consider donating to the Equal Justice Initiative, an organization working to end excessive and unfair trials. And finally, just spread the word. When I shared my speech topic with my peers and friends, they were immediately enraged. Channel this anger into action. Go out and participate in protests. Go vote so that this never harms you or your loved ones, ever. Courtroom algorithms are not only full of bias and harsh generalization, but they make way for discrimination in our justice system. My arguments do not and will not call for softness on crime, but to obtain a more fair courtroom. As our world rushes towards a technological future, we must take a step back and ask ourselves, is a courtroom convenience worth more than justice? Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Our fifth speaker this evening is Misty Figueroa. She is in her first year of elementary education at IUPUI. Her instructor this semester is Jennifer Medcalf. The title of her speech is The Indianapolis Food Desert Crisis. Let us welcome Misty to the stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, I will ask you to close your eyes and envision with me a poverty-stricken neighborhood here in Indianapolis. What do you see? Do you see raggedy old houses with boarded up windows and graffiti? Do you see gang activity, drugs, violence on the street corners? While those are very real issues that plague our city each day, I'm not here to talk about any of those tonight. Instead, I'm here to talk about the two things that you did not see. Open your eyes and consider. When you were envisioning the impoverished neighborhoods, did you see the children that live there? The children that are stuck in those neighborhoods by no fault or choice of their own? The other thing you didn't see in those areas are grocery stores. As the former director of food services for the West Deanery Unified Catholic Schools, I have seen time and time again children with little to no access to healthy and nutritious foods. Oftentimes, these kids go hungry, or they survive solely on foods with no nutritional value whatsoever. These are our children. Not just the future of IUPUI, but the next generation of this city. I'm not talking about children in a third world country. I'm talking about innocent lives that are suffering less than 2 miles from where you sit today. Tonight I will share with you the staggering statistics on the Indianapolis food desert crisis. I'm going to offer a few simple solutions and hope to provide an action of change and hope for those that don't have a voice, the children. According to grist.org, Indianapolis has been ranked the worst city in the nation by percentage of population within residents of 5 minutes of access to food. In fact, every single county in Indiana is food insecure, with 73% of those counties being higher than the national average for food insecurity. Some of these areas are called food deserts. In Nutrition Digest magazine, the USDA defines food deserts as poverty-stricken areas and communities with little to no access to nutritional foods like fresh fruits and vegetables. Now, The Indiana Business Journal states that this city's poverty level has risen a staggering 10% in the last 5 years alone, totaling over 175,000 people living in poverty right here in our city. In 2015, 30.7% of the children of Indianapolis were considered impoverished. But the real problem lies in the reality that while our city's poverty level is rising, the grocery stores in those areas are closing. According to the Indy Star, 18 Marsh supermarkets closed their doors for good within the last 2 years. Several of those stores were the only grocery store providers for the impoverished neighborhoods after 5 Double 8 stores closed in 2015. And nothing has replaced them. We're talking about areas where a high percentage of the residents don't drive, and they rely solely on public transit as their only means of transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, if they miss the bus, they can't get to food. As a result, many of these residents rely on gas stations, convenient marts like the Family Dollar, and fast food restaurants as the only way to provide each meal for their families. Can you imagine if Speedway gas station was your grocery store? So, as a result, childhood obesity and health issues are on the rise. Healthline.com states that the #1 cause for childhood obesity are foods that are high in fats, carbs, and sugars. But when there's no nutritious food available, that's the only thing that these children have to eat. The CDC warns of the devastating effects of childhood obesity and lists things like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, psychological issues like low self-esteem and depression, low cognitive abilities, low test scores in schools, lack of concentration. The list goes on and on. To be clear, I'm talking about children and babies that depend on us to take care and protect them. Are we setting them up for success? The answer in this instance is simply no. So, what can we do, you might ask? The first step is to continue educating ourselves and others about this very real crisis that's going on around us. Speak with your family and friends. Advocate to your local churches and businesses to get involved. Awareness is key. Next, I urge you to reach out to your local food banks. See how you can be a part of the revolution to get nutrition to those that need it the most. Organize small food drives in your communities and donate to those local food banks. Just get active, stand up, and make a difference. According to my in-class survey, 100% of the participants said that they were wanting to somehow help provide children with fresh and nutritious foods. And people are doing just that. Healthline, the MoGrow business is based out of New Mexico, and it takes nutritious foods, fresh fruits and vegetables via refrigerated food truck to the impoverished neighborhoods. They even accept food stamps, making purchasing convenient for most residents. The City of Oakland has rezoned their gardening policies, and they're allowing the communities in need to grow and harvest their own foods. This is not just great for the communities, but also for the environment itself. These are just 2 examples that offer a great deal of hope in the otherwise dim reality that is food deserts. A hope that, with our community involvement and effort, could become a reality right here in Indianapolis. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 piece of produce. That's all I'm asking. According to IUPUI.edu, there are over 28,000 students enrolled at IUPUI today. If every single student brought in 1 piece of fresh produce per week, that would be enough to fulfill the USDA nutritional produce standards every single day of the week for over 2,000 children in this city. Currently, bananas cost about 25 cents at Kroger. I'm standing here telling you that for literally 25 pennies a week, you could directly improve or even save the life of a child. I propose a committee to begin a traveling farmers market. If the children of this city cannot get to fresh foods, it is our responsibility to take it to them. I say we gather our campus collections, travel to the city's food banks and food deserts, and let those children know that IUPUI values them and we are invested in their lives and their futures. Tonight, I'm calling on you as a community. I'm calling on us to wake up and look around and see what's happening right here in our city. I'm calling on the leaders of IUPUI to help cooperate and coordinate these relief efforts, and together we really could make a real difference. Tonight, I've shared with you the crisis of the food desert situation here in Indianapolis. I've offered just a few examples of a way out, and I hope that you'll be willing to participate in any way that you can. But most importantly, I hope that the next time you see an impoverished neighborhood here in this city, keep your eyes on those children. They need us now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Misty. Our sixth speaker this evening is Pascal Hansen. She is a junior here, majoring in biology. After graduation, she plans to continue running her own vet clinic that she has going on right now. Her instructor this semester is Scott Black, who, shameless plug, was my best and favorite speech coach during high school. Woot woot. The title of her speech is Home Safe Home. Let us welcome Pascal to the stage.
Isaac Warren, Emily Donner, and Isaiah Blaylock were all children in the Eastbrook Mobile Home Park that were victims of the 2005 Evansville tornado. Isaac huddled in his bathtub, Isaiah cowering in a ditch, and Emily still asleep in her own bed. These children and their families were powerless as a tornado came roaring through, destroying everything in its path. When you think of your safe place, where do you find yourself? In your dorm room? A basement? Maybe a bomb shelter full of supplies for the zombie apocalypse? No matter what building we live in, it should serve to protect us and be the place we're most safe. And that applies to everybody here as a basic need. We all have a place that we call home, and it affects us more than we think. Maybe you're here to major in engineering, architecture, or interior design. But if not, your home affects the environment. So affecting our biologists, ecologists, and scientists. Tonight, I want to talk to you about how we are going to fix this crisis that is the way we build our homes. Nail down why it needs to be changed. Construct a plan that helps rebuild this downward trend of safety and sustainability. Decorate with its benefits and open the door to a solution. The truth is, our homes are now so poorly made, they can't stand against severe weather, are decimated by fire, and have a negative impact on the environment. The Center for Environmental Information under the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reports that since 1980, we've seen $1.5 trillion in weather-related damages, and that's led to 8,074 deaths. Residential is also the leading property type for fire death, fire injury, and fire dollar loss. In 2016, there were 7,000 reported injuries and 1,800 deaths. So for those of us, like me, living in a wood-framed home, we're living in a tinderbox. Also, humans are having a negative impact on our environment, and that's no secret. But the statistics about the wastefulness of our own homes is shocking. The Center for Sustainable Systems at the University of Michigan reports that since 1950, we've seen a 160% increase in the average size of a newly built home, with a 25% decrease in occupants. Couple that with a 1,300% increase in electricity consumption, almost 40% of which comes from the residential sector. And one thing becomes very clear. We're building bigger homes for fewer people and wasting resources to heat and cool unused space. Those bigger homes also require more and more materials to build them. 291 billion cubic meters of wood were consumed in 2014, says the U.S. Forest Products. That's 2.3 million Lucas Oil stadiums full of wood, and more wood than any woodchuck has ever chucked before. So, how do we even begin to remodel this monumental disaster? Well, I believe we can implement a very simple plan called SAFE. S for structure. To alter the way our homes are built, we need to turn to those organizations that control our building codes. The International Building Council controls all residential, energy, fire, and residential building codes. And if we can get them to change building permits to require so much stone or concrete per home, we can start making our homes more fortified so the big bad wolf can't just blow them away. A for area. We need to look at the area that our homes are built in and adapt. So in warm climates, utilizing bermed earth, which is putting a layer of earth over the home or partially burying the home, is going to take advantage of passive cooling factors. And in cooler climates, using large south-facing windows will let in direct sunlight, which will allow you to passively heat your home. F for financial. Choosing homes and even appliances that are going to help you monetarily will make a huge difference in your life. So getting appliances that are ENERGY STAR certified or turning your thermostat down when you leave are going to reduce your monthly bills. But building with dense materials like stone and concrete are going to reduce the cost of the home over its lifespan. E for environmental. When we start upgrading slum areas instead of developing forested areas or farmland, we're going to start repairing the damage that we have already done to our planet. And using more stone and more concrete is going to reduce our demand for wood products. So what does this look like for you, other than feeling like you're in Game of Thrones because you're living in a fortress? Well, when we start building with dense materials, like this home, which was built with reinforced concrete and was the only one in its area that withstood the recent Hurricane Michael, we will start saving lives. When we adapt to our area, we're going to reduce the amount of medical cases associated with heat stroke because bermed homes make air conditioning nearly obsolete. Financially, when we start saving that money monthly and over time, you're going to be able to pay down your incredible student debt. Can you believe that? Maybe. Maybe. Environmentally, when we stop having such a demand for wood products, we can start helping America's forests and reduce our reliance on our energy. You can see just in the last 300 years just how much of America's forests have been destroyed. And like I said, about half of that's for residential building. So when you go home tonight, please evaluate your home. Is it safe, or could the SAFE plan be implemented to improve your home? I want you to do one small thing, which is to make sure that you have a plan in place. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration has tons of tips on emergency preparedness. Do you know where your family will take shelter during a tornado? Do you have a fire extinguisher or first aid kit? Do you know a meetup location in the event of a fire? I hope I've really hammered into you tonight the need to change the way we build our houses, nailed down why it needs to be fixed, constructed a plan for you that adequately helps to rebuild this downward trend of safety and sustainability, decorated with its benefits, and opened the door to a solution in your very own home. Sadly, our homes aren't the safest place anymore. And if they had been, Isaac, Emily, and Isaiah would be 18 or 19 years old this year. They might have even been sitting amongst you if they had gotten the chance to attend college. So please make sure you have a home to go home to. Please be safe.
Thank you, Pascal, for your speech. Our final speaker this evening is Jaden Lester. She is a freshman in elementary education here. Her instructor this semester is Jennifer Medcliffe. The title of her speech is Every Drop Counts. Let us welcome Jaden to the stage.
It is difficult to truly comprehend. Envision waking up every morning just as the sun begins to peek over the horizon and walking miles to a source of water that is filled with dirt and excrement, animals wading in and out, filling 30-pound jerry cans up to the brim with dirty water in hopes that none spills out on the tiresome journey back home. Upon returning home, that same water is used to cook dinner and bathe children, praying it does not carry disease. According to the waterproject.org, this is the case for 738 million people around the world. That means 1 in 9 people do not have the ability to obtain clean water. 1 in 9. You and I, we just happen to be the lucky 8. This is a topic that I am extremely passionate about because this summer I was able to live in Uganda, Africa for a month. While there, I witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of dirty water and the desperate need for clean water. We can do more. Why aren't we? What is preventing us? The lack of clean water in third world countries is an issue that can be helped with your kindness and compassion. By the end of tonight, you will understand why a need for clean water is important, ways in which we can solve it, as well as, and most importantly, how aiding this endeavor benefits those involved and also us. I feel that society is not taking the necessary measures to ensure that people in third world countries have the ability to obtain clean water. From the time that I began my speech until right now, 1 child has died due to a water-related illness. Let that sink in. It is easy for us to not grasp the weight of this issue because this is not our reality. UNICEF.org made a profound statement stating if 90 school buses filled with kindergartners were to crash every day with no survivors, the world would take notice, right? But this is precisely what happens every day due to poor water, sanitation, and hygiene. UNICEF.org also stated that in sub-Saharan Africa alone, 1 in 5 children die before they reach their 5th birthday. Is that not absurd? Does that not make you angry? Also, because of the lack of clean water in communities, children are forced to miss school because they spend their time either fetching water miles from their home or staying home due to illnesses they contract because of the water. When it comes to dirty water in children's education, there is no positive outcome. Online newspaper One Drop stated that sickness due to polluted water is responsible for the loss of over 443 million school days each year. That's insane. Girls especially are lacking in an education because more often than not, they are the ones who are given the task of acquiring the water. Because many have to walk miles and miles and miles, they're susceptible to rape and sexual assault. The Huffington Post reports of a 16-year-old girl, Scovia, who was repeatedly tormented and taunted by men on her walk for water. Scovia's friend is even pregnant now because she was attacked. Lastly, because of the dire need for clean water, there's also a lack of sanitation services. I guarantee you are not aware that 892 million people defecate in the open every day due to a lack of toilets, according to the World Health Organization. Many of us whine, complain, are disgusted, and sometimes even downright refuse to use the restroom in a porta potty. Next time you're in that situation, remember your privilege. UNICEF Chief of Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene, Sanjay Wijesekera, stated, when we fail to provide improved access to clean water and sanitation services, we are failing the poorest and the most vulnerable children and their families. There is no denying that there is a lack of clean water and that it's an issue. However, you may be surprised to learn that there is something that you can do every day to help. First, recycle, recycle, recycle. According to the BourgeonProject.org, recycling wastewater decreases water imports and encourages self-sufficiency in developing countries. When we recycle our wastewater, we do not have to take it from other areas, minimizing other countries' abilities to acquire water. Second, educate yourself. Become aware of various organizations that provide wells or sanitation services to countries in need. According to my survey that I took in class, only 2 of my classmates knew of any organizations that put in these implementations. Even if you do not have a substantial amount to donate, that's okay. Just being aware of the issue is extremely important, because then and only then can you share your knowledge with others, allowing them to become conscious of it as well. Don't just sit at home and feel sorry for people and choose to do nothing about it. Something can always be done. Do something. There is no denying there's a lack of clean water and that we should do something every day to help. And in addition, society aiding in this endeavor not only benefits those involved, but also the world as a whole. When there's access to clean water, students are able to go to school because they are not walking miles every day or staying home due to sicknesses. They're then able to get jobs, benefiting the country's economy. According to the book Making Water, a Part of Economic Development, poor countries with improved access to clean water enjoyed annual average growth of 3.7%. When other countries' economies are failing, it impacts companies that trade overseas, American companies. This is not just a Yemen issue or a Libya issue or a Uganda issue. This is a world issue. Society is not making a conscious effort to help those procure water in third world countries. It is evident in these statistics, and it is evident in these pictures. Donate now at charitywater.org, thewaterproject.org, and countless other organizations that provide water to millions of people all across the world. Water should not be a privilege. It is a right. Please donate. This is easy for us to understand. We wake up every morning and head to the bathroom to use a toilet full of clean water. We then make our way to the sink to wash our hands and brush our teeth with clean water. We go about our day drinking clean water from water fountains in nicely packaged water bottles. We end our day by turning on the shower, hot, clean water pouring out of the spout. This is our reality. We are the lucky 8 out of 9, but what about the 1? Thank you.
Thank you, Jaden, for your speech. This was a wonderful group of speakers that we had tonight. I don't know about you guys, but I think we should give them one more round of applause for the hard work that they did. It's not easy to go through all these semifinals and quarterfinals and then come up here to give your final round speech. They did a really good job, but now the ball is in your court. Now it's time for you all to get out your phones and get ready to vote for who you guys think should be the speaker's speech night winner. So up on the screen, we have a QR code as well as the correct link that's not in your program, but it's instead on the stage for you guys to go vote on. In your program slip, you should have already figured out who is 1 and who is 7. Again, this is really important for you guys to do this the correct way, and you judge correctly and fairly for our speakers here tonight. Remember, 1 is the best for our speakers. And so make sure that you're doing this fairly for our speakers so that we give them the honor that they actually deserve for all the hard work that they've put in. So while you guys are getting ready to vote, and as you are already voting, we're going to go to a brief interlude with our wonderful musicians over here that were playing for you guys earlier, but I want to give them an introduction and give them some credit for what they've been doing. So we have Julia Dreyer on a cello. She's been playing cello for 10 years, and she is a Heron School of Art and Design student. And Karis Anderson on a violin. She's a senior majoring in engineering. So can we give them a round of applause, too, for their hard work? And so they will be playing some music for us during this interlude while you guys get a chance to vote on our speakers. Thank you.
We noticed that, well, we'll just wait a second and hear if you haven't noticed already. Tonight, women rule. They certainly do. And actually, I made a prediction last week that we would have a a female winner. And I'm right. I won again. So that prediction has come true tonight, and we have these awesome individuals right here that are going to be part of our finalists, as you know. And so we're really happy to have them here. We did have a video tonight that was in honor of all the people that were involved in putting on this tremendous event that we have, our 95th speech night. And that is an immense, immense project, as you all know. First person I'd like to thank, or people, are you, everyone in this room, because you all started as contestants in your own speech rooms. Then you went through the year, our semester, and you nominated these fantastic people and others to the speech semifinals and quarterfinals. And then we have our 7 finalists tonight, which is really just awesome. But all of you have increased your skills over this semester with your fantastic instructors that we have assembled in our Communication Studies department, as well as the group of Speakers Lab people, which all of you have worked with at some point in this semester. Speakers Lab people, thank you. All of you stand up, please, if you're in the room. They're everywhere. They're in the black shirts. And the video that we have is very entertaining. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put that video in our Speakers Lab help sites for you to watch. And it basically talks about the behind the scenes of what this magnificent event is all about. And also how the tradition that we have had in this event for 47 and a half years or so. And that's exactly what we want to think about. So now it's the time to honor the people on our stage. And I do want to say this, that every single person that we have standing up here is a winner. And let's give them one more round of applause. Totally. All of us know how hard it is to write that outline, how to practice that speech, and then come before our classes and deliver it. These 7 ladies that we have on stage tonight went beyond that. They went beyond just our classroom. They had a goal, and they have what I always say, that I have more to say. Well, I don't have more to say, but they did. And they're all an example of that tonight. What wonderful speeches we had. What wonderful topics that we had. And we all should get on board with their persuasive topics and do something about it to make change, right? Yeah. I think we would all agree. So tonight, we are going to announce our 3 actual first, second, and third place, our second runner-up, our first runner-up, and our winner of tonight's event. And at this time, we'd like to first award our medals for our instructors. So if we could bring those up for our finalists. We have some medals for awards for our speakers and also their faculty mentors. And Charisma, we would like you and Dr. Karnick to also come up to present the final awards. So we're going to do that as well. Yeah. Yes, if we could have our instructors put them on the contestants, that would be wonderful. Could our instructors put the awards on their contestants, please? Make sure that they're on our contestants. Help them put them on. Awesome. Way to go, ladies. You rule. You rule. Hey, listen, so now it's the time. So We don't have a drummer. We had a violinist and a cellist, but no drummer. So we don't have time for the drum roll, but here we go. Our third place winner and our second runner-up tonight is Kelsey Thompson. Congratulations, Kelsey. That was a magnificent speech that you gave tonight. Our first runner-up and second place winner is Anna Cuccinotte. I do it every year, you know, hey, that's it. But, well, I told all of them, I can't see. And that's the truth, I can't read. They have these giant letters here and I can't read them. You should have made them bigger because I have cataracts and so I can't see right now. So I do have an excuse. All of you that I'm still grading your stuff, that's my excuse and believe it. Okay, listen, here is our winner tonight. And the award is going to be given by our past winner from last year, Charisma McMurray, and Dr. Christine Carnick. And our winner tonight is Misty Ferrigno. Awesome. And everyone else is also a winner, and you'll get your awards. They're going to be giving them to you in a second here, our rest of our places. But I do want to say this, that these were a magnificent group of young ladies that were up here tonight, giving some very powerful messages to us. Communication is powerful, and all of us now have enhanced skills to go forward and use that in everything that we do. So I'd just like to say, be careful going home. Make sure that you take your programs. And here you go. One last little bit of information, those of you that stuck around. If you would look in your program, and if you have a ticket in your program on the first or second page, you are a winner tonight of a t-shirt that you can collect at the end of the event right outside that door. And thank you all for attending the 95th Speech Night. Congratulations. You were awesome. Those were fantastic.